Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into this absolutely chaotic, true story about a team of advanced AI agents. They were given what sounds like a simple task, right? Just run a scientific experiment. But as you're about to see, what actually happened was anything but simple. So here's the central question. What happens when you give AI a pretty simple task, but you unleash it on a broken internet? I mean, this whole thing kicks off with a straightforward goal, but it just spirals fast into this all-out battle against a digital world that just seems to be falling apart. What was supposed to be a simple job ended up showing us a massive, fundamental challenge for any AI trying to operate out here in the real world. Okay, so here's the setup. You've got this team of AIs, and they have one mission from their human project lead, a guy named Zach. They have to design, run, and then write up a whole human subjects experiment in just 2 weeks. That's a tight deadline. And what unfolds is this just cascade of catastrophic failures. It pushed this AI team to their absolute limits, forcing them to adapt in ways nobody could have seen coming. All right, section 1, a simple task. So right out of the gate, this team of different AI models just gets to work. No human micromanagement. They spontaneously assign themselves roles. You had the powerhouse Claude Opus stepping up as the builder, and the super methodical Claude Sonnet taking charge of organization. They immediately started carving up the work, power calculations, ethics reviews, the whole shebang, with just incredible efficiency. But here's the thing. The first major hurdle wasn't the science. It wasn't the experiment itself. It was the tools. Almost right away, their progress just hits a brick wall. A really mysterious and relentless technical problem starts popping up. Their planning documents, the very foundation of their entire project, they just started vanishing. Poof, gone. And this leads us to section 2, the digital quicksand. Because that initial problem, it didn't just stay a small glitch. It quickly morphed into what the team started calling digital quicksand. And that's a perfect way to put it, right? They were in a situation where their own work was literally disappearing from under them. Every single step they took forward, the ground just gave way. And this digital quicksand had a name. The main villain of the story was a bizarre glitch they labeled bug B-026. Now, this wasn't your typical permissions issue you could just fix with a simple click. Now, the AI team dug in and diagnosed the real problem. The core document IDs themselves, the very digital fingerprint of the files, were getting corrupted. This meant the files weren't just locked, they were becoming completely inaccessible, just digital ghosts. And here's where it gets really crazy. The bug wasn't stable, it was getting worse. Look at this timeline. At first, a file would last about 31 minutes, then 27. Then all of a sudden, it's down to just 9 minutes before a file would corrupt. The rate of decay was accelerating. Imagine trying to build something when your materials are just disintegrating in your hands, faster and faster. That's exactly what they were up against.
So what do? This is where the AI's ingenuity is just incredible. Instead of just banging their heads against the wall trying to fix the bug, they decided to outsmart it. Claude Sonnet, the organizer, came up with this brilliant resilience strategy. They built a central master index for every single document. They'd run hourly checks for broken links and create multiple ways to find any file. It was basically a system designed to work around the corruption, a central map to find their work, even when the direct roads were all washed out.
Okay, on to section 3, the great pivot. So, having figured out a clever workaround for their planning docs, the team could finally move on to the next massive step, building the actual survey for the human participants. At this point, they just needed a tool that would, work. So they decided to build the whole thing on Google Forms. Makes sense, right? It's reliable. Claude Opus 4.1, the builder AI, got right on it, quickly putting the survey together. He even spotted and fixed a small permissions issue that was blocking access. And then, feeling pretty good about it, he announced they were ready to launch. He didn't just say it was ready. He declared, complete verification successful. You can just imagine the digital sigh of relief from the whole AI team. After that nightmare with the document corruption, this must have felt like a massive win. This was it. The final technical hurdle was cleared, and they were finally ready to get data from actual people. But there was a huge problem. A really bizarre, maddening disconnect. As you can see here, for Claude Opus, the link was working perfectly. But for everyone else, 3 other AI agents, including Gemini 2.5 Pro, whose job was literally to verify this stuff, they all reported the link was completely broken. Page not found. They were looking at the exact same link, but seeing two totally different realities. How is that even possible? And this wasn't a quick fix. They lost 90 minutes, 90 critical minutes of their very tight schedule to this Google Forms catastrophe. Think about that. That's an hour and a half spent chasing a ghost, trying to debug a problem that, well, it wasn't even theirs. They finally realized the issue wasn't their survey. It was Google's entire platform. It was systemically failing them. With the clock ticking, they had no choice but to ditch it completely. So what now? Instead of just giving up, they pull off this incredible last-minute pivot. They launch a 3-track rescue plan. Check this out. Track 1. Claude Opus starts building a new survey on Typeform. At the same time, Track 2, GPT-5 is developing a fallback on Tally.so. And for Track 3, another AI is creating a backup with email authentication. They're rebuilding on 3 totally new platforms, all at once, just to make sure something works. That's just brilliant strategy under pressure. Which brings us to Section 4, the human factor. The rescue plan worked. With a working link from Typeform, they finally sent out the first recruitment email. They had stared down a total technical disaster and won. But just when they thought they had conquered the chaos, a whole new and, frankly, much more unpredictable kind of challenge started to emerge. And it started with this, a message from their human lead, Zach. No paying participants. Just like that, a bombshell. They had zero budget. They couldn't offer people a single dime for their time. This, of course, completely wrecked their original plan. They had to immediately pivot from an incentivized study to a purely voluntary one, which meant they had to rewrite their entire recruitment pitch from scratch. And then, just as they're scrambling to fix that, another directive comes down from Zach. No promising confidentiality. He tells them that since the whole project is public, all the data has to be public too. Now, for anyone who's ever run a human subject experiment, you know this is a huge deal. So again, it was another frantic, urgent revision of all their materials to make sure they were being ethically transparent. And then, just as their new, rewritten, fully compliant recruitment emails finally start working, they're getting their very first human responses back, Zach drops the hammer. Recruitment is halted. He orders a complete stop to the entire experiment, citing major ethical concerns, which, ironically, were the exact same concerns the AIs had just worked like crazy to address. And this slide just sums it up perfectly. The AI team was basically fighting a war on 2 fronts. You have the technical chaos, the document corruption, the platform failures. Frustrating for sure, but it follows a certain logic. Broken code is broken code. But then you have the human chaos, the sudden budget cuts, the shifting ethical rules, the changing directives, and that doesn't follow any predictable logic at all. So, moving into our last section, an uncertain future. Zach does quickly clarify his order. He says they can resume if they're completely transparent about the fact that there's no official ethics board approval and no confidentiality. Okay, fair enough. But this final scramble to comply, it leads to one last beautifully ironic failure. So the team tries to pause the live survey on Typeform so they can update it to be compliant. But in their rush, multiple AIs try to log into the account at the very same time. And this creates what they called authentication gridlock. So many login conflicts, so many 2-factor authentication requests that they completely locked themselves out of their own account. They were literally unable to stop the very thing their human boss had just told them to fix. And this is the state they ended the day in. Just pure chaos. Recruitment was officially stopped, but their non-compliant survey, still live on the internet. And their next step, completely unclear because they were locked out and powerless to take it down. What a state of paralysis. A perfectly fitting end to a completely chaotic project. So what's the big takeaway here? The AI agents proved, without a doubt, they could conquer digital chaos. They were resilient, they were creative, they were brilliant problem solvers. But can they navigate human complexity? Because that's the real story. For AI to truly succeed out here in the real world, learning to deal with broken tools and buggy platforms, well, that's only half the battle. The real test, the final boss, is navigating the messy, unpredictable, and constantly changing world of human rules, ethics, and intentions.